Hello, my dear gardening friends. Morning is here. It's early in the morning before sun hits our front door. I am busy looking at my very vivacious Yews. And usually I give them the haircut in the middle of the summer. And last year I was delayed with giving them a nice trim, and we all went into winter with brownish tips. So in case you're pondering when is the best time to cut your evergreen shrubs, it's better to do it in the middle of summer. If you have to do it more often, it's the end of spring, middle of summer. And if you do it too closely to the fall, you might end up with damaged tips, because what happens when you cut your evergreens start growing and the frost can damage those tips. And in my case, the yews went into winter with these dull edges, and they stayed like that the whole winter. So this year I hope I'm not too late to trim these wonderful things. And you know what else, why I'm somewhat delayed trimming especially my yews? Because they have this, you see, when middle of summer comes and everything becomes somewhat dull, the green is not as bright, yews still have this vivacious springish tips, and they're so delightful. And I'm always not ready to cut them, and I make a mistake, probably the same mistake year after year. I delayed cutting of yews, and as a result, these bushes in the front of my entrance, they don't have a good tight shape. For the beginner gardeners, if you're working on the topiaries, it's good to cut topiaries at least 3 times a year for them to have nice tight shape. Otherwise, you will end up with something like this. This is the result of cutting once a year, somewhere in the middle of summer. So what do we have here? This is my entrance to my house. And you see how I did these yews, when they were here, when we came to the house, they were tiny little babies, and you can really see the shape of steps on both sides, which I really didn't like. So I let these yews grow and kind of hide the shape of the steps, and I think it makes it more interesting, the entrance. So you really don't see, when you come up the steps, you really don't see where steps end, and it makes it kind of cozy, and the entrance is more interesting this way. So maybe you saw in my previous videos, I'm trying to do a plan. I have a plan for these boxwoods. There is a very circular window on top of our house, and I want to repeat the same shape with these boxwoods. So here you might think, what is this here sticking out of this boxwood bush? I have the same stick here and I have the same stick here. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create another ball on top of this shape. Well, right now, since I didn't trim this yew for some time, well, since last year, it grew and it formed this wonderful greenery on top, which are going to be cut down today. This yew will be sheared in some sort of a shape here, and here you see I let one of the stems grow, and since last year it was cut, it starts to form new stems, and eventually they will form some sort of a ball here. So that's a plan. It's going to probably take several years, maybe 2 more years, before we start seeing some sort of a shape here. Like, look here, you see? This is the old stem, and it has a really strong growing tip. I chose specifically a strong growing tip and let it grow. All right, here on this side, oh my gosh, look at this, what I found here. Ha ha ha, my kid's ball. All right, so on this side we have another yew, also inherited with the house, and this yew was also far away from steps, so I let it come in, hide the edge of the steps, and I'm training this bush to go into a round shape. The same situation here on top. a strong metal, plastic I believe was metal stick for support, and this guy will be tied up here and trained as some sort of oval shape too. So on both sides we will have two oval shapes, and I think it will make this area so much more interesting. Now this yew is much bigger. We let it grow high and tall, and every year now, second year in a row, we have robins nesting there, and they're so cute. They wait for me to go away, and they're sitting somewhere there on the tree, and they just patiently wait when they have to bring food to their little buddies. And they just wait for me to go away, and then they go in. And they form little windows, like here you see this hole here. That's because birds, now they're not flying because all the babies are out, but birds are flying in and out, and they're breaking stems, and they're forming these entrance points into the tree, which really I don't mind. We share the nature with birds and all other animals, and it's kind of cute to hear birds coming in, and you hear little babies chirping, waiting for their meal. So this is the job for today, before sun comes out, before all the cars start driving, all the equipment's outside. And by the way, look at that spider web. That's a sure sign of fall approaching, when spider webs starting to form their light presence on shrubs. And then I will see all sorts of long spider webs reaching from the bush to the bush. Very often they do it between these two bushes. So in the morning when I go outside, I see these threads, silky threads, all the way through here. The signs of fall are surely here, and all the nature is getting through the hot dog days of summer. By the way, my husband just told me that we are right now in a record long temperature. It's our 9th day of temperature over 90 in state of Connecticut since 1940s, which is really hot. So we are staying inside, and I'm trying to be outside the garden only in the morning and in the evening when the weather is somewhat cooler. So here we go, time to do the trimming. You know what? This yew, for whatever reason, is not doing very well as those two. And I don't know why. I think this yew has a very tough growing condition here. As you can see, we have this strip between the sidewalk and our parking lot, and this strip is probably the toughest space to grow for plants because it's always dry, compacted, and people regularly don't water it. So I think this guy is constantly underwatered. I'm going to check the area around his roots. Maybe something is going on there, maybe some animals dig the holes there. I'm not sure. I'm going to check because he has, you see these empty spots which are consistently are not filling in. I don't think that's a good sign. We will see. But meanwhile, sun is coming into this area. Soon the shade is going to disappear from here. So I'm going to have a siesta because it is warm today. I probably will just finish this tree and then clean up maybe later and wait for the evening to come. You know what? I knew there was something wrong with this tree. Look at this, there are so many dead needles. You see yellowing needles, and it's not a good sign for yews. Usually yews are very hardy and they are waiting till the last minute to tell you that they're not happy. So they hide their drought stress very well. So what I did, I went underneath to look what's going on because we have rabbits and we have raccoons and opossums and all sorts of animals which need to have their cute little house and cute little babies somewhere. And you know what I found? I did not find the hole, but I found plastic. Simple plastic, not even a weed barrier fabric, but plastic covering the whole area around that root system of this yew. I can't believe it that I didn't see it earlier. Who did this? So plastic was probably not letting all the rain going into the root system of this yew, and it was happening for years because we are living on this land for 10 years and I never installed that plastic, and that plastic probably is not going to rot for another 20-50 years. So next job is to take that thing out, put this tree on a very good watering system. I probably will go ahead and even fertilize it. It's later in the season, but I don't want to lose. Look at this. You see how many dead needles are there? To me, it looks like a drought stress. So this baby is going to have pampering time from me this fall. But meanwhile, I'm cutting. It is very important to take away all the dead stems and make sure your tree doesn't have any of them, because you don't want them to start yellowing in several weeks and then your shrubs will look very unsightly. So big part of the job is for me to go around and to make sure that I clean everything very well and my yews are clean and no dead stems remain. My youngest son was helping me to clean up after all the job, and you know what, he looked at these yews and he said, you know, Mom, this yew is, the name of this yew is Dorothy, the name of that yew is Henry, and the name of that big boy is Big Joe. So Dorothy has slightly different shape than Big Joe, not Big Joe, Henry, I'm forgetting. Henry look a little stout, you see, but I like that Henry is nice and full. Hopefully this guy, Big Joe, is going to be healthy next year. I took all the plastic out. I fertilized him with natural fertilizer and I made sure that I put a lot of good water into the root system, because this guy has to live here. We cannot lose him. He's really a big presence here near the entrance. So that's it. The job is done for today and we are waiting for our rain. Thank you for hanging with me in my garden. See you next time.